So today I have Charko with Alberta Enterprise Corporation, CEO of AEC, with me at ICT today. Thanks a lot, Rod, for doing this interview with me.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about, briefly tell us about what AEC does?
Yeah, Alberta Enterprise is a Crown corporation that has an initial allocation of $100 million to deploy in new venture capital funds. We don't directly invest in startup companies per se. What we do is invest in venture capital funds who then would invest in these startup companies. In so doing, one of our primary goals is to get venture capital fund managers permanently fixed here and operating here, which has not been the case in the past. Our second mandate, however, is to address deal flow. And what we mean by that is to help startup companies get mentoring, help them, coach them, and not us directly. What we are doing is working with organizations or starting or facilitating organizations like the Venture Capital Association of Alberta, the alumni associations at the universities, angel and mentor groups, proven CEOs to help them help startup companies and more directly connect startups to the venture funds that we're going to be supporting.
So the first part, the investment into the venture funds and bring a general partner to Alberta, what is the rationale behind that? Like, what do you want to achieve in the long term?
Yeah, there's a few elements to that. One is, as I mentioned in the past, there's been venture funds that have been coming to Alberta from out of province, from Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal. Generally, these folks float through once a quarter or once every month or so. And that's all well and good, but there's no long-term commitment to doing deals here. And generally speaking, if VCs aren't directly in your doorstep, they aren't necessarily culturing and creating and finding deals directly. So what we really need is permanent full-time fund managers here. That's one step. That's one element of it. The other two is that startups here really need access to expertise, industry advice, board members who have direct experience in the sectors that they're addressing. So in other words, if you're a medical device startup, if you are a Java software startup, if you're a solar clean tech startup, chances are, and I guarantee it, you will need industry access. You'll need board members that have expertise in those industries. And generally speaking, a lot of the angel and oil and gas money here doesn't have that expertise. So what we're trying to do in bringing venture funds here is to connect startups here with funds that have networks and syndication capability and industry connection into the Valley, into Minneapolis where medical device companies are, into Austin where there's a lot of silicon chip technologies and so forth.
So the VCs that you have reached out to, are there a good chunk of them in Alberta, or are they across Canada or in Vancouver? And how about Silicon Valley?
Yeah, we are looking at the three categories. So net new Alberta fund managers, or these are fund teams that may have not worked together, but they're individuals that have track record either with other funds or as individual investors. We're looking at what we refer to as PanCanadian Funds. So these are funds that already have track record and establishment in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, those centers. And we're looking at Valley funds as well, or funds in the U.S. The whole goal of looking at funds outside of Alberta, again, is to stress the prior point, is to bring them here, anchor them here, and allow them to bring in the expertise and allow startups here to leverage their industry connections outside of Alberta. That said, we're also going to put a lot of effort into starting net new Alberta teams here, which in many ways will require us to roll up our sleeves and create these new funds.
So it's kind of creating a culture or environment like the Valley here in Alberta. And is there an emphasis on which city? Like we are here in Calgary here, and obviously I guess you're based in Edmonton. Is it going to be an equal split, or how does it going to work? Or does it matter, I suppose?
No. I think you'll find that in successful venture communities, there's concentrations important. You can't expect successful venture ecosystem and fund management to be dispersed across every corner of Alberta. And what you'll find, and we don't tell VCs where to set up. It's their business case. It's their call. as to where they will find the most deal flow, for example.
So your job actually is to find a good VC with a great track record that you can trust before like letting them run with the money, I suppose.
We're not telling them who to hire in Alberta. We're not telling them where to situate. They choose what city or what town they want to set up in. But just to clarify your earlier point, many of the funds that we look at may not have a track record, or may not have a good track record, because in the past 10 years the whole VC industry has had a terrible track record. What we're looking more so at is the metrics of success and whether they have the ability to make good on the Alberta opportunity, but also have the metrics to do a good fund going forward.
How do you define metric of success when you don't, like when you're talking about like not looking at their track record?
Well, we look at their track record, but in most cases that's not the only element of success, because a lot of them aren't that great. But what we are looking for is, good fund managers in the venture space generally have a history of deal flow, so they have demonstrated track record, whether it's lessons learned from bad deals or good deals. They need to have industry experience, having run a venture fund or some sort of financial fund. They need to have experience in startups themselves. So a lot of venture fund managers have operating experience in, if not small startups, at least have experience in the sector they're addressing. So if their target of their fund is clean tech, then obviously they may have experience and network in clean tech, in the clean tech industry or in oil and gas or whatever it is. So we're looking for a few things.
Right. So which leads to a quick question on your background. Like you were a fund manager, investment fund manager before this, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've got a colored background. I used to be with BDC Venture Capital, right? So I did telecom and software deals across Canada. I've been as well involved with a few startups. So Metronet Communications was one of the ones, a local success here 10 years ago. I've been involved with ICT startups as well as biotech startups on the management teams. And most recently I've been doing advice and helping start up funds actually as an limited partner. So I've been involved with advising BDC Fund of Fund, AVAC, Case de Popo, and a few other LPs in fund due diligence and fund creation.
Right. So your background definitely can help the task that you're trying to do here. Look at good funds and then kind of see if they're looking at the right companies, or and then like would they be able to do a good job establishing a presence.
You'll find that not just in myself, but all the people on our staff have either or both fund management experience as well as startup experience. So actually everyone on my team right now has been in prior startups.
What kind of experience do they have in your team? Like how big is your team?
It's
like
small.
excluding the administrative staff?
Yeah,
how small? Like 2?
4.
4?
Yeah. It doesn't need to be that big. What we really need in this capacity is people that really are very focused and know how to do fund due diligence and help create funds, and people that really understand the challenges of startups and how to connect VCs to startups and help startups get funded and get mentored.
So have you worked with this team for years? Like are they people that you worked with closely before, knowing their track record? A small team, like you only have 4, so you can't have that many people that doesn't work well, right?
We've only been out since September 1st as a corporation. But the people I've hired, I've known them for many years. And so I've worked with some of them actually in prior startups. So,
right. Oh, cool. Yeah. So a few questions on creating the, enhancing the environment of entrepreneurship in Alberta and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about what you AEC is going to do. And I understand it's not a long-term thing that you plan to do like forever as a company.
Our philosophy really is to have private industry really own ecosystem and deal flow over time. We don't intend to be a government program that continues to support industry and various well-meaning initiatives